Reading is one of the most popular hobbies in the 21st century, but it feels like we're slowly creeping, or maybe quickly creeping, into a new area of reading. Every time I open TikTok or walk into a bookstore, there's a new must-read. It's got sprayed edges, 4 different collector's editions, and at least one exclusive cover that's only available through a subscription box that costs more than the book itself. And I love that reading has become cool again. It's so amazing seeing people get so excited about books. It's one of the best, most intellectual hobbies that you can have. It's truly an escape. But being a reader myself, lately I've noticed that a lot of the books that are being hyped up and just released are not very well written anymore. They're entertaining, sure, but they're also just really repetitive.
The story you are about to see has been told before. A lot. And now we are going to tell it again. But different.
There's a lot of the same tropes, there's a lot of spice. Most of the books are more spice than plot nowadays, and I don't have anything wrong with that. It's just not personally my cup of tea. But I want a romantasy that is fantasy and romance, not fantasy and spice.
A world that is totally powered by instant gratification. I want to work for my romances. I want to see them pining and yearning and just anguished at the thought of this person not being with them.
I want the yearning, and some of these books that we're reading nowadays are mostly just fantasy and spice with no yearning. The spice has to be earned, in my opinion, and I feel like a lot of authors nowadays are just jumping right into the action, if you know what I mean. There's the same tropes, same pacing, same sort of characters, and it makes me wonder if books are starting to become like fast fashion, where instead of timeless stories, we are getting mass-produced trendy ones, books that are being written to fit the most trending tropes, built to go viral for like 1 month before another one takes its place. And the reason why this is so sad is because reading has always been a comfort place for me, just like so many others. It's calming, it's grounding, it's truly an escape into a whole other world, and for a lot of people, this is their version of therapy. If you're familiar with my channel and have been here for a while, you know that after my papa passed, I desperately needed an escape. So I turned to reading to escape my grief. But sometimes that's just not enough. I struggled so much with my grief that it started to affect my body physically. I was breaking out in hives. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was an allergic reaction, but no matter what action I took, it would still happen. And I finally had enough, went to a doctor. It was grief. It was unprocessed grief causing my body to react in this way. I did not realize how much grief could affect you, not just emotionally, but mentally, physically, spiritually. And it took me a lot of outside encouragement to realize that I could not process this on my own. There was no amount of books that could help me process this, and that I couldn't just get over it. I needed help working through it. And that's when I started therapy. I've said this before, but I'm a very huge advocate for therapy. It helped me process my grief properly, helped give me tools, helped me understand myself more and how I process certain things, and also just helped me show up more in my real life. I always thought I wouldn't have time for therapy, but it's actually quite easy to fit it in because grief does not keep a calendar, and anxiety does not clock out after 5 p.m., and depression does not care if you're in a busy season. These things will hit at any time, but support you can fit into your life. That's why I am so happy to share with you guys the sponsor of today's video, Grow Therapy. Now, Grow Therapy is unlike any sort of therapy service you've heard of before. With Grow, you can find a therapist that meets you where you are. There's no mix and match. There's no blind matching. Whether this is your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it so easy to find a therapist that fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the US, offering both virtual and in-person sessions, including nights and weekends, and you choose your therapist. You can filter by identity, gender, language, faith, and so much more. You also know who you're meeting. You get detailed bios, their specialties, and you get the credentials all up front, so you know that you're getting someone who is properly licensed. There's no guesswork, no blind matches. You pick your therapist, and that's what I love so much about Grow. And there's no long wait time to get started. You can get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up and you can't make your appointment, no worries, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost to you. Speaking of cost, this is not a subscription. No subscription, you just pay when you do have a session. Some sessions average around $21 with insurance, and some people pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Grow helps you find therapy on your time, and whatever challenges you're facing, Grow is there to help. Visit growtherapy.com/Susannah to get started today. Again, that's growtherapy.com/Susannah. You deserve a better type of therapy, and that's Grow Therapy. Thank you so much to Grow Therapy for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the video. Today I want to talk about how the book industry has changed because in my opinion, it has changed a lot. How writing itself feels different now, how trends are shaping what even gets published, and why so many readers are quietly saying, like, I miss when books move me. I miss when I connected truly with a book. This isn't a BookTok bad video. Please don't get that from this video. I'm not critiquing BookTok itself. I'm not blaming creators or readers, but we as consumers are responsible for what the publishing industry puts out. So we do have to take a little bit of responsibility, and I'm a part of this. So this is like just a awareness video, how it's changed over time and how people, especially in BookTok, are getting completely fed up with the quality of books that are being produced.
Bro, why are these BookTok books every single time I read one, I have to DNF it because it is, y'all are some liars. Y'all are wasting, these books are wasting my time. And I just like, at this point, I'm like, oh.
This is more about what's happening behind the scenes, and I think more of us are starting to be aware of the effects of an industry that's chasing virality over storytelling. So back in the day, publishing used to be very slow, like real slow. Writers spent time working on a single story, rewriting, editing, perfecting it. And now the whole industry moves at the speed of lightning. The publishing industry is trying to keep up with BookTok. And when certain books started blowing up online, publishers realized quickly that hype equals sales. And from that point on, marketing primarily took the driver's seat. It became about books that were easy to pitch in one sentence, or ones that hit the right buzzword tropes: enemies to lovers, morally gray, slow burn, found family, you name it. And it's not that those tropes are bad. I am a diehard enemies to lovers trope fan. But the problem is that when every story is built around what's trending, you don't really get a lot of diversity in the kind of stories that you're ingesting. And originality stops. And I think it's quite obvious when a book has been written to go viral. Mainly all the covers of the most popular fantasy books look the same.
Have you ever realised that all book covers are becoming the same now? Particularly romantasy fantasy books. They're all the same. They've all got like a dagger on the front of them. The light that blinds us. Sword. Lady of Darkness. Sword. King of Battle and Blood. 2 swords.
There's always like a sword on it. It's very much the swirly letters. Like they all look the exact same. Same with like romance books. They all have the characters on the covers now. They all got this like cartoony vibe to them. And it's really hard to find any originality. And most of these books are usually a fast read. They've got a lot of emotional beats in every single page and some kind of quotable line that's clearly written to be in an edit with a sad piano background. And it's not that these books in particular are awful. They're just forgettable, because when everything starts to be the same names, the same characters, the same species, all fae, like there's no really original plot lines and they start to morph together. I saw a TikTok the other day. I don't think I saved it, but I did watch it. And there was this girl that said that she read like maybe 200 books in a year, I believe, but she can only remember the plot of like 10.
Do we remember the plots of every book we read? There's only like literally probably 10 books in my life I could tell you the whole plot of. I read over probably 200 because it like goes in here, I have fun, comes out. Are we supposed to remember this?
And this just shows that we're consuming all this information, but because it's so similar, our brain doesn't really pick it up as new information. And when publishers start chasing this short-term success, picking up books because they know they will perform, because BookTok will pick them up, BookTok convinces us to read them, and then the book gets lots of sales, they see that this kind of genre or this kind of trope really performs and sells. And so the focus shifts away from writing something impactful into writing something that will perform.
I think romance books are becoming fast fashion. There are authors and certain kinds of books where they come out with a book or two a year and you can kind of feel that like they're feeding into the market instead of like actual writing, whether it be that there's not enough editing, the story doesn't make any sense, there's no plot, it's blank, there's no plot, or it's more tropes than an actual storyline, okay? I went out and I bought Love Arranged by Lauren Asher. I have mixed feelings with her as an author, but I was like, let me read the third and final book in her series, Lake Wisteria series, why not, okay? And I love romance that like doesn't need to do anything, all these different things, but after reading her book, I was literally like, these are books that actually in a couple of years will kind of be almost like fast fashion, like Shein things, where it's like, they're not a waste, but like they lose value over time. Like they don't gain more profit over time. They're not like they kind of diminish in value because they don't actually have a substantial story. Like this book, almost nothing happens in it. It feels like nothing happens because it's literally a big fat trope and a story written about that big fat trope. It's fake dating, two people who don't like each other, which we've already seen a million times before, and like there's barely plot beyond that, and then they learn to figure out that they like each other. Like this is something I've seen before and over and over again, and I fear that because of BookTok and some of the recommendations and the way people, talk about books online, that we've created this like fast fashion machine where people are putting out books so much instead of it being, quality, it's like quantity instead. And I don't know if that makes any sense. I get to the end of it and I'm like, nothing happened. Did you like this is so weird. And mind you, I didn't even hate it that much. You know what I mean?
I agree. I've never read her books in particular, that author, but I have read books that are very similar where it's like, I've read this before. There's nothing that really happens. Like sometimes you can read like an 800-page book and then nothing happens. Like I really love the Fourth Wing series, but then Onyx Storm came out and I was like, like I could go without reading it. Honestly, I felt like nothing really happened. And the fact that I don't really recall anything significant from that book just makes it very more clear. The first book like gripped me, but the books after that, I was like, I wish something more happened. I don't know. I've also been really into reading like romance books, and especially like the fall ones that have come out. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, if you didn't watch one of my earlier videos, I think it was the Fall Propaganda I'm Not Falling For video, I talked about how this book, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, was so hyped up. It was a romance book, very spicy, which you wouldn't guess from the cover. I read it and I was just so disappointed because BookTok hyped it up. It didn't live up to the hype. Like the hype, it was down here. I felt like nothing really happened in it. The whole mystery part of the plot about who was messing with her cafe just was like lost in the action part of the book. Anyway, if you want to look at my review for that, it's on Fable. I don't do Goodreads, I do Fable. I also have a book podcast, Plot Twist Please, so feel free to check that out too. All the links are in the description for the podcast. Point is, I've had a lot of books recently where I'm just like, this feels like a waste of time. I feel like I've read this a million times before, and I'm not the only one who thinks that, evidently.
You have to read this. It's enemies to lovers, and second chance romance, and he falls first. What does any of that mean? And you're gonna eat this up. Fake dating. In a fantasy book? Knife to throat scene in the one bed trope. You are just saying words at me that don't make any sense. What is the book about? Dragons. The book is about dragons and fairies. Yes, but like what happens? Are we exploring a power struggle? Is there a message on how the corruption of our government will lead to an ultimate decay of society? Spice level 3. Wrap it up.
Now, a lot of authors have talked about how hard it is to get accepted by a publisher, because if you don't include like a popular trope, the publisher literally will not pick you up. If it's not going to sell, they're not going to pick you up. And so now authors are including popular tropes to try to sell their book to publishers, basically convincing publishers that their book will sell because it hits all the most trending tropes right now. And that is a little bit problematic in my opinion, not necessarily the author's fault, because I understand the author's just trying to get their name out there, their book out there, but it's just sad to see where the book publishing industry has gone. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this is also our fault. We are the consumers here. If we weren't consuming these books, the publishing houses would not be pushing these books out so much. Another thing that's really hard is the fact that books are written for very short attention spans now. Like we have a shorter attention span than a goldfish, and that's not exaggerating, that's actual fact. Look it up. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is a very slower paced book. Not a lot of like spicy action happens, but there's a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was one of my favorite books I've ever read. Again, it's a slower paced book, but it just seems that like people don't really appreciate slower paced books anymore. And this is not to hate or blame anybody. This is just how social media in general, short form content, has literally rewired our brain into not being able to handle slower paced things. Like people can't even watch a movie anymore without being on their phone. And I've been there. I'm the same. It's very problematic. And authors really have a lot of pressure to fit into the trends. And it's not the author's fault. It's just how the system works now. But you can really feel it in the writing. It's like every romance has the same banter. Every fantasy has the same type of brooding love interest. And every thriller has the same twist ending that's trying so hard to shock you.
What I'm getting at, I need some recommendations that are fresh, that are not the same stories over and over and over again. Like nothing surprises me at this point. I'm pissed.
And that's where this starts to feel like the book version of fast fashion, a cycle of quick consumption. There's constantly new books being released by the same author, multiple books being released by the same author in a year, new releases every Tuesday, and there's not really any crafting of a timeless story anymore. It's just about hitting the formula that guarantees sales.
Unpopular opinion, but I don't care what the book trope is as long as it's done well. It just needs to be written well for me to enjoy it. I'm in my TBR book pile area of my room. I'm not going to show you how large it is, and I'm choosing the arc that I'm going to read this month. However, I just read the note from the author in the beginning and it rubbed me the wrong way where now I don't want to read it at all. It seemed like she only wrote this so it would be a TikTok sensation that would sell. I'm not going to show you what arc this is because I just got it for free, but this is my honest opinion of it so far because the opening letter just gave me the ick. Story time. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, just the parts that I was like, I no longer want to read this book. She goes, as a bookstore owner myself, I understand the importance of having a book that appeals to buyers based on the cover, but also the tropes that are hot and trending. I don't want to read a book just because she thinks that something is hot and trending. And then at the end of the letter, she says, her book is destined to be the next TikTok sensation. That just immediately made me not want to read this. Remember, as a fellow bookstore owner who specializes in romance, I've ticked all the boxes to make sure this book flies off your shelves. I don't want to read a book that you just wrote to check off a box. I want to read a book that you were passionate about, that you thought was a story that needed to be shared, that you were invested in, and not just thinking, oh, this is going to blow up on TikTok and be a viral sensation. If I see the viral sensation on a book, I don't want to read it.
That's interesting. That was one of the TikToks that I saw that really inspired this video. How these books have been kind of BookTokified. They see what's trending on BookTok. They write this book. I don't know how long this author took to write this book, but the fact that she had 6 different tropes in there, was more concerned about it flying off the shelves. This is her debut novel. If you're writing, it should be because you're passionate about writing, not because you want to be the next TikTok viral sensation. That's not a good reason to write a book. And you can see how a lot of readers are starting to kind of wake up. I feel like this was a very eye-opening moment for this person. Books are being published that are not well written, that are not written because they're passionate about writing, but are written because of money. That's all it is, money. I understand it from a marketing standpoint, but at the same time, it's if you're sending this arc to people, don't include the letter you're sending to publishers. Just don't include it, because that would have turned me off as well. I don't want to read a book that you think is going to just sell off the shelves, that is hitting all the trending tropes. Mind you, trends change quite often, so you could be, oh, this is a trending trope right now, when by the time you're finished the book, it's not trending anymore.
Publishing industry and the literary market changes so quickly, and you're not always going to be able to predict what will be popular or what publishers will be looking for by the time you finish writing your book and you're ready to query. Some people find a lot of success in chasing trends, but it's a risky game, because by the time you finish writing your book and are ready to put it out there, the industry might be sick of whatever particular trend it is that you're chasing. And even if publishers aren't sick of that trend by the time they pick your book up, by the time it actually goes out in the world, audiences might be.
I recorded a super long video, but I'm going to keep this a little bit shorter. I saw a bunch of posts this last week about the BookTokification of publishing and how authors are writing like readers are stupid and all this stuff. I just want to make it clear that a lot of what's happening right now, and I will speak specifically for adult romance, and that includes romantasy and dark romance and all of that, right? What you are seeing is a direct result of BookTok, okay? Authors have been screaming this for years, but publishing and booksellers are following the BookTok dollars, okay? So if you're seeing a lot of content about a book, okay, whether you like that book or not, okay, especially if you're making content about books you hate, publishers do not care whether you liked the book or not. Publishers care that you guys bought thousands of units of that book. If you don't like a book, maybe don't make hate content about it, because hate content sells a book. Publishers really, really care about the numbers that are coming out of BookTok. They don't care about the opinions, they care about the numbers. If BookTok is hate buying someone or just giving an author a ton of attention, publishers want more of that, okay? They want more of it. And I will say this as one last thing. Publishers are asking authors to write that stuff, okay? I talked to 3 black authors who were asked to write more like Colleen Hoover. So do with that information what you will. What happens on BookTok is just being replicated in publishing because publishing is seeing via the numbers that that's what you guys want.
This makes a lot of sense. I also did not know that people would buy books just to hate read. I had no idea that was a thing. That's messed up. Why would you buy a book just to hate read and then make hate content about it? I haven't seen any of that. I've seen people read a book because they really wanted to love it and then posted an honest review and said they didn't like it. I don't know if that qualifies as hate reading. I don't think so. I think that's just normal reading. But if people are actually making hate content about books, that's super problematic. I'm glad I don't see that. This just proves a point further that publishing houses are seeing what's trending, asking authors to write more like Colleen Hoover. I don't really particularly enjoy Colleen Hoover's books anymore. They're all kind of the same, in my opinion. I understand everyone has their own taste in books as well, but I don't want to read another author like Colleen Hoover. I want to read an author who has originality and an original voice and brings something new to the table that we haven't seen before. An example of a duology that I read recently was One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. So those 2 books, the magic system in those 2 books were so unique. I loved that duology. Another thing I want to point out that I've really noticed in books recently is the lack of editing. There's editing, but then there's just not thorough editing, and there's a lot of spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes. I've seen this almost in every single book I've read recently, and it just feels like the publishing industry is taking less time to edit a book properly and more time just churning out books. The final draft is not getting looked through more thoroughly. There's nothing that makes me more upset is when I'm reading a book and I'm in the zone and then my brain catches like a grammatical error. It just throws me off. Editing gets rushed, storylines feel recycled, and sometimes the writing just feels like it needed another round of refining that never happened. And it's not that the authors are lazy, it's that the industry rewards speed. We've gone from storytelling being an art to it feeling just like content creation. And if you think about it, writing a book is technically content creation. You're creating content just in a different form. And now I want to talk about the rise of the aesthetic. All books now have sprayed edges. This used to be like a one-off, like a very special edition of a book. No, every single book has a sprayed edge now. They don't even look nice. They're just solid color sprayed edges most of the time. Books used to be things you loved and kept because they meant something to you, and now they're kind of becoming collector's items, which is nothing wrong with books becoming collector's items, but there has to be some sort of reason to collect it. It has to have some sort of design or something on the sprayed edge, but not just a solid color. Not only do we have sprayed edges, but every book has to have like 5 different collector's editions. And yes, some of them are beautiful, but it's becoming something that's just kind of expected now. Every single book has a sprayed edge. There's nothing really special about the sprayed edge anymore because every single book has it.
Today I want to talk about some bookish things that I do not understand. Do not make sense to me. This is going to be a completely random list, completely random compilation of specific books that don't make sense to me, and like books in general, things about books in general that don't make sense to me. First one, this is such a non-problem, so I'm getting it out of the way because it like really doesn't matter, but it's something that annoys me and something that I don't understand. And that is unnecessary sprayed edges.
It annoys me too.
I feel like so many people are spraying the edges of books nowadays and it just looks ugly, doesn't make sense, doesn't even like have a intended purpose or any thought behind it. Don't get me wrong, I love a good sprayed edge when it has thought and meaning and purpose behind it. For example, powerful novella. These are gorgeous. These are beautiful. I display this on my shelf loud and proud and happy. But what is this? This did nothing to the book. If anything, it makes me not want to buy it even more because that's ugly. Like, I just don't understand. And I know that's such a non-problem.
The sprayed edges have no thought or meaning or just intention behind it. It's just like, oh, sprayed edges are trending now. Let's make this an orange sprayed edge. Meanwhile, that book was ugly. That ruined the book for me. If there's like a design or something of that nature on the sprayed edge, then that's warranted. But if it's unnecessary like that, there's literally no point. Now, a recent release came out called Alchemized. And if you're in the BookTok community, you obviously know what this book is. And people on BookTok have mischaracterized, I guess you could say, this book. This picture I'm going to show you says the BookTokification of this story is absolutely sending me. It's dark romance, it's enemies to lovers, is there smut? She says 1,000 gut-wrenching, devastating, claustrophobic, traumatizing pages of commentary on war, religion, women's bodily autonomy, power, oppression, life and death, and you're asking, is there spice? I don't know if it's a marketing fail or just the inevitable consequences of every book now needing to be condensed and distilled into shallow tropes and spice levels to be considered sellable, but I am out. And this kind of makes me think that people are not interested in reading a book unless there is some sort of spice involved. Like a story just can't be beautiful and heart-wrenching and traumatizing. It has to have spice in it to be good. That's not true, but it feels like that's what books are expected to have nowadays because that's what's trending. So yeah, maybe books aren't exactly fast fashion yet, but the way the industry is moving, it's going to end up that way. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think quality has dropped nowadays? Or do you think we're just in a different era of reading now? Either way, if this video just made you want to slow down and enjoy reading again and picking up books that have some sort of substance in them, that's a pretty good takeaway, and I'll take the win. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. God bless you all, and until next time.